Welcome back to the Spirit, Mind and Soul podcast. Today I'm speaking with Kayla. I've known Kayla for over a year now. Kayla was training to become a Find Your Purpose coach, and I literally watched this woman find her own purpose. She gave up everything, her life, her career, and went off on a journey to find herself. That we spoke about self-worth, overcoming low self-worth, and doing inner child work, which Kayla talks a lot about here, and taking your power back. This is a great one for anyone who's maybe feeling a bit stuck or is scared to take that scary leap. Kayla done it all, and her story's very inspiring. And if you haven't already found your purpose, you'll certainly be wanting to after listening to this one. So enjoy. Hi, Kayla. Lovely to have you on the podcast. I don't know if I said, but you were one of when I was starting the podcast and I was writing down guests who I'd like to get on. You were one of the people, and you know why. Obviously, your journey the past year, which we're going to delve into.
Mhm.
Um, so really, obviously, big focus is on you finding your purpose because what a journey, even just the past year, but it goes further back than that.
Mhm.
And you, Kayla, you posted something recently. You were talking about inner child work, how that's such a big thing for you, but you said that it's actually your teenage self that was the big focus for you. So do you want to start there and tell me what teenage Kayla was like and what she was going through?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, firstly, yeah, thank you so much for having me on. That's so funny that I was on your list. That's amazing. So thank you. Um, yeah, I actually don't have many memories from my childhood either, which is one reason why I focus a little bit more on the
Mm.
teenager, but also because yeah, she was really, I think the only way to put it is like obsessed with boys and getting attention from
Mhm.
boys, and that was like my main purpose was like who likes me, like who do I like, who wants to be my boyfriend, and all these types of things, especially like in my younger teenage years.
Mhm.
And that really kind of progressed into all of my self-worth was like based on what these guys thought of me, and if they wanted to kiss me or date me or whatever. um, and then I'd be absolutely destroyed if they didn't want to progress our relationship, if they wanted to end the relationship. um, and it led me to like a lot of partying and going out and trying to get attention, and to yeah, then lots of incidences with alcohol. And it was just, I think the real root of it was all of my self-worth was in what others thought of me.
Mhm.
Friendships were not so much. It was really just like the male attention. And
Mhm.
I'm still kind of working through that as part of my journey still, as to where that comes from. I mean, I have a really good relationship with my father. Like, that's not really
Mhm.
kind of where it comes from. I don't think it's just, yeah, it's still a big journey is figuring
Yeah.
out
Yep.
where that comes from and taking back the power as well. I think
Mhm.
sometimes we don't always need to figure out exactly where it comes from, but be
Mhm.
able to rewrite that now. So it's like, actually, I hold all the power to my own self worth and not putting it in other people. So that's been a
Mhm.
huge thing for me to work through.
Yeah. And you mentioned self-worth there, and what I've come to realize in doing the work that I do, which you might feel this as well, it's when you're working with people around limiting beliefs or confidence, actually it almost like 99% of the time comes down to self-worth. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you lack self-worth, that affects every part of your life, your relationships, the love that you seek, friendships, work, business.
Mm-hmm.
It really, if you've got low self worth, you're really going to struggle. So it's funny that I've had those breakthroughs as well in the past year. So it's just, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And is that just the past year you feel that you've had that breakthrough, that realization?
Yeah, I think I was always aware that is what had happened, but I was placing a lot of blame onto like ex-boyfriends who made me feel that way, and that it was their fault, and that they, you know, screwed with my head, and they were the problem, and I mean that's that is true for the most part, the way that they acted, but that's also giving away your power, is by placing the blame in everyone else. So it was really the past year of taking that power back and being like, actually, okay, yeah, his actions or whatever were not like good, but it's all in how I respond to it. I can keep blaming him and keep being in this kind of like spiral, or I can take back my power and be like, actually, it doesn't matter what he thinks or what he did. I'm in control of my own worthiness. Yeah.
And do you feel can you have compassion for your teenage self now? Because we can be our own worst critic now, but also critical of our past selves. But our past selves got us to where we are now.
Yes.
So yeah, I think having compassion for that younger version of us as well. You know, they didn't have the tools, the skills, the knowledge that we have now. And like you say as well, you know, you'll probably be doing a lot of unraveling in years to come to have more breakthroughs and realizations of why or where that self-worth came from.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah. I was just going to say, I mean, that kind of leads you into your 20s then, and you're still in your 20s, right?
Yeah, my last year of my 20s.
Yeah. So, but I mean, you've had a lot. You got married quite early 20s, and you had your career as well. Do you want to talk us through leading into your 20s and marriage and work?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So my 20s, especially my earlier 20s, were a lot about like figuring out, well, I knew that there was something more and something else other than what I was doing. And I think I calculated I've had like well over 20 jobs, you know, since I started working at 15, and I've tried so many different things that range from like, you know, at one point I was cleaning public toilets and campgrounds, and then, you know, I've been like a real estate agent and like everything in between, a personal trainer, and it's been great. I mean, I have so many experiences and qualifications behind me, and I always joke, you know, that I can literally help advise my clients like on anything, even like selling their house. So that was great. It was really about collecting experiences, but I was really trying to figure out like what it was, like what did I want to do. And I knew I kept hopping from job to job, and each new job was for the most part exciting. You know, it would be about getting a new a pay raise or better hours, and it was started to kind of like wear off within the first few weeks. I'd be like, oh, this is not it. Like, what is it? And so that was really my early 20s, and I mean, even up until like 2 years ago or a year ago, I was still kind of doing that, and really chasing the money and the status, I suppose, around careers and what I thought that I wanted. And yeah, so it'll be coming up 2 years that I've been married. So that was a huge thing in itself, a huge change as well. But yeah, and figuring out, I mean, we're both self-employed now, so that's been a huge transition as well, and a scary thing for both of us, and both of us trying to understand what entrepreneurship even is and how we can sustainably run businesses without someone having the weekly, you know, secure income. And that's what I was doing for a lot of the time. I mean, my husband started his entrepreneur journey a couple of years earlier than me, and so I took on the role of bringing home the bacon, I suppose, and being in a corporate job and earning the weekly paycheck to pay the mortgage. And it really got to last year, and I mean, you were there to kind of experience it firsthand as part of the mastermind that we were in, as I was going through this phase of I was in a really toxic job, like workplace, as well as not being suited. I mean, I was good at my job, but I hated it. It wasn't the type of role for me in administration, and I was working a lot and in a toxic environment and stressed and coming home and pouring 1 or 2 or 3 glasses of wine every night. And my husband was already kind of like living the dream, I suppose, of he had a home gym and was training people there, and so he was at home all the time and having clients, and got to the point where there was a huge friction in our marriage because, you know, I was feeling really resentful to him that he was already doing it, and that I was, you know, kind of got into this like spiral of this isn't fair, and I'm having to work to pay the mortgage, and I hate it, and this is horrible, and you're just doing whatever you want, and which wasn't very fair of me. I mean, there's lots of changes I could have made at the time, but in the end it came to the point where I was like, you know, we were living in this beautiful house that we had bought and had moved into recently, and I was looking around at the house thinking, this isn't worth it. Like, it's not worth the job that I'm in and me hating my life and hating everything that I do and causing problems in the marriage. You know, it's like a whole snowball effect. When you're unhappy within yourself and what you're doing, it just seeps through everything in your life. And so I was like, I have to quit this job, and the only way that I could see doing that was us selling the house. So we decided to sell the house and buy a motorhome, which, yeah, in hindsight was an interesting decision to make.
So that's kind of taken us to last year, because you did your, was it life coach training, or what was it? What was the course that you did last year?
Yeah. It was like a spiritual life coaching, soul purpose coaching. So it was the life coaching, but with a very, kind of spiritual element, learning lots of different modalities, which was amazing. And that's what kind of opened up all these rabbit holes for me to dive down into all these things.
Was that like an out for you as well? Was that like, if I can do this course, was that going to be the career, like the out of the corporate world and into something new? Like was that the plan? Yeah. But were you already on a spiritual path by that point?
Yeah, I mean, I had been raised fairly spiritual. You know, we even had a friend over New Year's that we spent time with, my mum's friend, and she was saying, I remember, Kayla, when you must have been, you know, 5 years old or younger, at one of their old houses, and they'd put all of us kids to bed. And then I came out and started talking about a lady that, you know, that I was talking to a lady. There's a lady in the hallway who looks like this, and I'd been having a conversation with her. And it had turned out that it was one of the past owners of the house who had passed away. There's been lots of instances like that in my childhood that I have kind of blocked out, I think, out of fear and the unknown. So I used to talk to my great grandma and, you know, all these types of things, and my parents were really open to that, and obviously my parents' friends as well. So I kind of grew up in that environment where it was accepted, and with a lot of natural therapies and natural kind of like holistic treatments and all that type of thing was kind of what I was raised on, and my mum's always being very spiritual. So I've always had crystals and all that type of thing, and been to, you know, done Reiki since I was a lot younger. Been to Reiki therapists and stuff. So I'd always kind of had like a foot in that world, but out of fear and, you know, not wanting to talk to scary, you know, or be like haunted, or, you know, all these types of things, I kind of blocked that side out, and I still haven't really reopened that door. I think I'd probably need some guidance with that from someone else who knows. But when I was actually working in real estate, that's when I went to a conference, and the whole last third day of the conference, they were talking. One of the real estate agents was saying that her whole business was built upon manifestation. Like, she never cold called, door knocked, or anything. She literally just called all of these listings of people into her life. And it was like I knew all of this, but it was like I'd forgotten. Like, I read The Secret when I was like 14, and I had the check written up and stuck above my bed, and I'd read, the $1 million check and all that type of thing. But it was like, whoa, okay, it's not just like, I think I had this perception that it was all just like hippie people who, didn't work in normal jobs and were always barefoot, and like, I don't know, all these. I had this perception of, and so seeing, real estate agents who, that really is like a very masculine, go 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 kind of, were not very spiritual at all, from the outside anyway. And yeah, she was saying that she'd done all this, and it really, I went back to my hotel room that night and just started doing affirmations, and I just went deep into it, kind of remembering everything that I already knew. And that's what really triggered it all. And then that's when I started looking more into it. And then that's when I came across the spiritual life coaching course that I did, and it all just really, really spiraled from that one day. I was just like, this is it. Like, it just clicked. Whereas I think it's like, you can read books and stuff in the past, and sometimes they just don't like click. And it all just landed then. So yeah.
And it obviously came to you at the right time. Obviously, with your husband already having been set up, I guess that was a blessing in disguise, really, because when you came to that decision of, right, let's sell the house and let's go off and actually live the life of our dreams, you were both good to go. So do you want to talk us to that point? So it was around May, June last year. We both had the same mentor, and that's how we met. And we both, well, I think I probably cried on most of the calls that we had. And you were obviously going through your own journey with, wanting to, whether to quit your job, and just so, you were going deep personally as well. So we saw each other through quite a lot. And then you, towards the end of the 3 months of mentorship, you decided that you were going to sell your house and quit your job. It was around the same time, wasn't it? Yep.
Yeah.
And then you, like you say, you bought your motorhome. So do you want to tell us about that journey as well? It looks fun, by the way.
Yeah. I think we lasted maybe about 4 or 5 months, and then we were like, because it was us two and our little dog as well, and the floor space in the motorhome that we had anyway, it was like, you were just jumping over each other constantly and like bumping into each other, and it was, so the idea was amazing, and it was kind of like this point where I was like, I need freedom. And to me, that was like the ultimate sign of freedom, was to be able to be not attached to anything, to be able to travel around the country, to be at a different beach every day, to be and go and do whatever we wanted to. That was really what I was seeking. And actually, it wasn't very good, because I'd pretty much run away from the situation that I was in without having done any inner work at all. So the unhappiness just kind of followed me. And that was the point. I mean, I was still, 4 o'clock on the dot pouring a gin, like sitting and having like a couple of gins every night. Like, I was still really in those same habits, even though I didn't have the stress anymore. That I perceived was causing all of this unhappiness, and it was really just like unhappiness inside me. So we could be parked at the most beautiful place. We've had an amazing day where we've literally, wake up whenever we want, step out, and you're like on a beach, and you go to a cafe and like have lunch, and all these things that we really wanted to do, and I thought would make me really happy. And I was just still miserable. I was like gaining so much weight, and I was just like, probably coming out of like some burnout as well. But yeah, I was actually still really, really miserable. And
Wow.
it kind of, although I wouldn't, at the time, I wasn't portraying that. Obviously, I was showing everyone, all of my beautiful photos and look who we've been and look what we're doing and everything's great. And yeah, it really wasn't. It was a huge, once I kind of got through, I think we did like 4 months of that, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like I can't do this with myself. Like I'm so tired of how unhappy I am, and obviously running away from everything didn't help. And that's when I realized that I needed to make a huge change within myself.
Yeah, I think it's reassuring and refreshing that you've said that. But also, I guess in a way, you could look back at it and think, oh, I was just running away, but maybe you just needed to get away from your usual environment to see that it
Mm.
was the inner work. So that again, another blessing in disguise. And by the way, 4 or 5 months is good going for staying in a tiny camper van as well. Um, but yeah, it might have just been just what you needed then. And what do you feel was the inner work? What was it that needed to be addressed?
Oh, a lot of stuff. I think a lot of a huge amount came down to like how I was treating myself, and my body and my health. That was a huge, root cause. And since then, I think I've lost about 15 kilos. Just and a huge amount of that was just from like mindset change. So I did a lot of like EFT tapping on, feeling worthy of looking how I want to look, and lots of mindset shifts around
Yeah.
my body image and why I was treating myself that way, and binge eating and binge drinking and all those types of patterns that have go right back to since I was 17 as well. So I think it was just like going back to kind of like self-worth as well, being worthy of doing what I want to do and not having to work in a job that I hate as well. That was a big one. I kind of worked on like everything all at once because I just got so tired of being unhappy.
And
So yeah.
it's a big change as well from going from the life that you had. I guess some people call that security, the
Mm.
marriage, the nice house, the job. You had it all, that's
Mm.
what people strive for, but that's actually not always what makes us fulfilled. But I guess you need to also prepare yourself mentally for, okay, I'm going to give that up and I'm going to go and live this life, but you need to know what comes after that. You need to be mentally prepared, otherwise it's just a shock to the system.
Yeah, it totally was. And I really had jumped in with like, my husband was still working on the road, like online doing training. And I was like, yeah, I'll work. Yeah, I'm just having some time off. Yeah, I'll work late because I had absolutely no plan. Like, I wanted to start up my coaching, but I was not in the right place to be supporting anybody else because I couldn't even support myself at the time. And so then that was also playing in my head is, what kind of life coach am I if my life is literally falling apart? If I can't even handle my own life, how am I meant to help anyone else? Why would anyone trust me to help them if my life is falling apart and I'm so unhappy and I'm trying to preach? At that point I hadn't even really been posting or trying to do any
Yeah, I
coaching because I
remember.
couldn't even.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't because I feel like I didn't have the capacity, and I also felt like I was a complete sham. Like, I already had my life coaching cert for, well over 6 months by then. So I'd been through all that, and by their estimations, I should already have established my coaching business and been getting clients in. But instead, I felt like I was going the absolute opposite way, which, now that I can look back on, I can understand, and it put me through a lot within a really short amount of time. And now I'm really well equipped to help people with lots of different changes and limiting beliefs and all that type of thing, because I pretty much experienced
Yeah.
experienced it all through that
Yeah.
time.
And I
Yeah.
was going to say, you obviously saying that you felt you were a sham and you didn't feel that you could help people then. But I remember saying to you last summer that you are the example of someone going after your purpose, because that's a focus of the work that you do, is helping people find their purpose. And
Mm,
last year I watched you make all these big life-changing decisions, especially your house, which you loved. It was your dream
mm,
house, selling that and then going off and living the life you wanted to live. That was you finding your purpose. It just so happened that you had to do some inner work, and that's okay.
mm,
Even the people that we look up to, that are well known and well established in what we do, they'll have times when they need to take a step back and do the inner work. It's never ending. But I think, yeah, I can see why you've maybe given yourself a hard time, and maybe it wasn't deserved, but it's you're not alone. We all,
mm,
in this life, it's gonna it's just growth. It's personal development, and it's growth, and it's intentional, and it's you sometimes you do, just like I say, need to take a step back and go deep.
mm,
But
yeah.
what would you say to anyone who is, because we all have that daydream, or we all had that daydream, whether we've gone after it yet or not. And for some of
Mm,
us, it's like you say, limiting beliefs as well. That plays such a big part in holding us back and why we don't go after what we want. Self worth
mm,
comes into that as well. So, what would
mm,
you say? Because you've experienced it, you went through this just as recently as last year. What can you say just to help someone take that first step towards pursuing the daydream, the purpose?
mm, yeah. I think it really is feeling into what it is. I mean, it doesn't have to be a firm business idea or anything from the outset. It can just be
Mm,
like, I enjoy doing this thing, but I don't really know why, and I can't make money doing it, so it's just a waste of time. So many people, I've thought that so many times in the past, and lots of people that I've talked to as well have felt that.
mhm,
If they can't see the kind of like monetary value straight away, then it's not worth investing time in. So
mhm,
the thing is with experiencing like joy and excitement and having fun doing things, it is like a compounding kind of snowball effect. So even if you start just having fun doing one little thing every day or once a week, something just little that you love doing. So it could just be, I mean, for me, like my coffee is a huge little thing that I love doing.
mhm.
And if I know that if I walk down to the beach with my coffee, it's like the best day ever if I've started my day like that. So it doesn't have to be like a
Mhm.
huge thing. It's just little things that really excite you or just give you that kind of like really joyful inner feeling, just doing those little things. And then you'll find that the more you feel like that, the more you want to feel like that. So then it all kind of adds up and you start doing more and more things. And
Mhm.
particularly if you're in a situation like I was last year when I was in the job that I hated. um, it can be so easy to just get really bogged down by that
Mhm.
and feel, I mean, because it goes the other way as well. If you start getting negative about something and doing things you don't like, then the more and more things you're going to call in that you don't like
Yeah.
doing, and then your whole day ends up, it's like if you spill your coffee first thing in the morning, then the whole day just ends up being,
Mhm.
crap. So it's really about that choice of like, how is your day going to start, or how are you going to react to these things,
Yeah. Yeah.
and making the active choice, because you can't choose what happens to you. It's really like the choice of
How you react.
how you react. So I mean, there's so many so many things I could add onto that. I mean, my car got reversed into the other day when it was parked on the road. We went out to pick it up and it was completely smashed down the side. The person left a note, luckily, but I was like, it's so easy in that situation to just freak out and
Mhm.
get really mad and like, what a stupid person, I can't believe they did this, oh, this is so frustrating, of course this would happen, all of these things you can start telling yourself. um, or you can be like, oh well, these things happen. We're all humans. That person made a mistake. They left a note. That's great. We'll deal with it. Like, it's going to be okay. And just carry on with your life. I mean, sure, it might add a little bit of annoyance in there. You can't deny that it's a bit annoying having to take it to the shop and get it fixed and all that type of thing. But, it's really about how you react to the situations. So I've gone on a huge long tangent here, but really it's about including the little bits of joy in there. I mean,
and that's what I was going to go back to, because when I talk about, the daydream and the dreams and the goals, and that doesn't need to be anything big and grand. Like you say, taking your coffee and sitting on the beach, that's like the highlight of your day, and that sets you up for the day. And like me, like just in the like journaling in the morning and nice music and burning some sage, like, and that sets me up. And if I do that in the morning, I set myself up for having a good day. I put myself in a good place, and also it's just, obviously I've got two children as well, so it's being able to pick when I work. That's the big thing, and where will be location freedom, time freedom. That's my personal values.
Yeah.
That I yeah. So as long as I've got those things, my time freedom, location freedom, then I'm good to go, and I can do, as long as I can do my soul work in the morning in peace, then I'm happy. So our goals don't need to be big and grand. Just start with the little things like you say and implement them daily, and you'll start to feel good, and then you'll start to dream bigger, no doubt as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then once you do have the big goal and dream, I think the most amazing thing to do is to actually just like take that really big scary leap and just do it. It's like quite often we're just standing in our own way because we're nervous or we don't feel worthy of doing it. Always loops back to the self-worth. Or we feel like no one cares, or no one's going to buy it, or no one's going to, it's really just taking the leap. So that's a huge thing for me.
And there's always going to be fear. So I know people, again, feel alone in the fear as well, as if I must be the only person that feels this. It looks so easy for everyone else, but we're all, for any time someone steps out of their comfort zone, or even putting themselves out there on social media, or they might be worried about judgment from family because of a new choice or a new goal that they've got. So there's fear that comes with any change as well. So I like to say dance with the fear, because it's going to be there. It's we feel every emotion for a reason. But you've obviously experienced that. Do you have any tips for helping with fear for anyone watching that's thinking, really want to do that thing, but I feel really scared?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to kind of be able to look at it from the other way as well, because like you said, fear is always going to be there. So it's like, would you rather just be living your dream and experiencing fear, or being really unhappy and experiencing fear? It's going to be there either way. And also kind of looking at what's going to happen if you do let the fear hold you back. What's your life going to look like if you do let the fear hold you back? And sometimes that in itself, realizing what your life could look like, is scary enough to push you into doing it, because it's not going to be what you want to do. And I know it can be a big thing of kind of like discerning whether that fear is like good fear, like it's fear because you actually care and you want to do it, or if it's fear because it's not the right thing for you and it's unaligned. So that's another whole can of worms to open, and that can be hard to kind of figure out.
There's a lot. It's not straightforward, just fear. It's fear of, what's coming next, the unknown, but also fear of leaving the known, everything that you've known, like
Yes.
you did as well. There's fear around that as well. But I always think, what's the alternative? Like you touched on there, do you stay and feel unfulfilled and unhappy with the life that you've currently got, which probably wasn't your life, it was the life you thought you should be living, which so many of us do. They tick the societal boxes, and then we feel unfulfilled. So there's the fear of leaving the known, but then I think switch it up as well. It's not just fear, like you kind of said there, it's actually exciting, rather than focus on the fear is going to be there, focus on the excitement. It's really exciting not to know what's coming next.
Yeah, and what you're gaining from it as well, I think, is a really important. We can often look at the fear and the lack and maybe what we're losing and focus on what we're losing in situations instead of focusing on actually what we're going to gain in that situation. I found particularly spending big amounts of money investing in myself. It's like, oh my gosh, but there's so much money. Like, I'm really nervous to spend that much money and blah blah blah. But it's like you actually need to focus on what you're gaining from what you're doing. I think that's the really important thing. So yeah, like you said, looking at the alternative of if I stay in this job and keep this house and the mortgage for the next 30 years, what is my life going to look like? And then also, what am I actually gaining by stepping forward and taking this leap and jumping off the cliff, into the unknown. So yeah, it's really easy to get caught up in that kind of fear-based lack, what am I losing mentality, and I think always being able to, and that's where journaling comes in so well, is being able to journal on what you're gaining and the things you're excited about and yeah, what your new life could look like, and then what your old life looks like, and which is more exciting, which feels more expansive. Yeah.
So what does your future look like then? What does the future hold for you? Obviously you've got a house now, you've settled somewhere. Yeah, you're staying
Yeah.
there for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, we're in a different town now. So it's just the two of us. We left all of our family behind. We didn't go back to the town that we were living in.
Sorry
We're
to
in
butt in.
a city
How
now.
far are you now? How far did you venture to where you are now from home?
It's about just over 4 hours drive.
Right, so it's quite far.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for New Zealand, it's like,
Yeah.
you're halfway across New Zealand
Yeah.
nearly by then. But yeah, so we're right by the beach. I mean, we're like a 3-minute walk to the beach from our house. We're just renting at the moment. We haven't decided exactly where we want to be forever. So we thought, we'll just settle down and see where it kind of takes us. So yeah, we're both working from home. And kind of I've got my books open for one-to-one coaching at the moment, and I'm kind of setting up some other exciting things in the background that I'm not sure exactly when they're going to be ready yet, but yeah, kind of looking at more of like a membership kind of thing. I mean, I'm so, like us all humans are, multifaceted and have so many different interests, and I kind of wanted to create a place where all of my interests are in one place, so you don't have to go somewhere else to learn something else and go somewhere to do something. It's like the journaling, the breath work, light language is all in like one place. So that's kind of what I'm wanting to work on. That's my vision. But yeah, obviously getting people on board to help as well. I can't be a professional in everything. That's what I've had to learn as well. I can't do every single course and learn everything and be great at every modality. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the good thing though. It's working alongside other people and it's community, isn't it?
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I was going to ask as well, is there obviously with the new career change and everything that's just going on in your life now, career wise, but personally as well, do you now have something in the future that's not work related, but it's just for you, just something that you're longing for yourself?
That's so interesting because I've actually been thinking this past week. I was like, everything that I do at the moment is like all around, as you're building a new business, quite often all of your thoughts and time and energy is around that business. And I was like, I need to start having more fun just like every day and doing stuff that's completely not self development or business related. I mean, yesterday we went and played golf, so I'm thinking about getting a bit more into my golf again. And that's still, yeah, that's a work in progress, is figuring
Yeah.
out exactly what I want to do that's not tied to my business, because at the moment everything is.
Well, that's good as well because I completely relate. My life for the past year and a half has pretty much been Business and children, and thrown a bit of traveling in as well, which obviously I can just take my laptop and work as well. So
Yeah.
that's great. And that's kind of fulfilling my dreams as well. But yeah, I
Mm.
can't really say that I have a hobby or something that, because, well, I guess work, but that's when you find your purpose and your passion, then that is like your hobby. It doesn't really feel like work.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. I totally agree. It's just keeping that balance and not tying your
And
whole worth to your
burnout,
business
yeah.
as
Mm-hmm.
well. It's like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's a juggling act,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. But yeah, I mean, traveling is another thing that's big on our list as well, and that is a huge thing. Same for me. Freedom is a huge value, probably one of my most important values, and just being able to take our laptops and be wherever, even if it's going away for the weekend, just driving
Mm-hmm.
like an hour out
Yeah.
of town, um, and really having that flexibility, and hopefully eventually traveling overseas as well, once we kind of get a bit more
Yeah.
settled and
Yeah.
yeah, into routines. Yeah.
So how can people get in touch with you? And I know you've got a Facebook group as well, is that right? Is this
Yeah.
a community that people can get involved in?
um it was meant to be. It hasn't exactly worked out how I had planned, so I'll probably be kind of recreating something to do that. My ideas have shifted around that. You always kind of go in full
Mhm.
speed with an idea, and then it doesn't quite work out how you want it to, and then you shift. So
Yeah.
at the moment, it's just through Instagram.
Mhm.
And then I will be, yeah, I've just got my one-to-one mentorship at the moment, and then hopefully kind of opening up the membership
Yeah.
sometime soon.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, community is a huge thing that I've been wanting to focus on for a while now, and been thinking a lot about, and how I can best create that, whether I want it to be on Facebook or on a separate um,
Mhm.
kind of platform, or yeah, so I'm still moving through that, how to best connect with people. So yeah, Instagram's the way to go at the moment for me.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I will leave details in the description for people to get in touch with you then, Kayla. And thanks again for sharing and being so open and vulnerable in your journey and sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much for having me on. It was such a great way to start the morning. It's only
Good.
8:45 here now, so
So you're going to start your day and I'm going off to my bed.
yes, I know, we're just like ships passing in the night.
Thanks, Kayla.
Awesome, thank you.
I hope you enjoyed listening to Kayla's story, what a journey she's been on, and all details on how to contact Kayla are in the description below. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the like button. Every little helps this podcast channel grow. And subscribe, you'll be notified when the next episode comes out soon.